Hey gang, and welcome back to another part of my tier list. So I basically wanted to talk about every role itself, just because I feel like everyone prefers one role and therefore it's just easier, or just I don't know. I feel like it's better to look at each role for itself. So if you haven't seen the last part, just check out the playlist I created. Or don't I won't force you. Um, so this tier list is about the damage roll, and I also want to kind of look at the skill required to master the champion and stuff like this. So not only the raw champion kit, and I don't expect like the best players on each role or on each champion, because if I would expect the best players in the world on each champion, so to say, then the tier list would look differently. But yeah, so first damage champion is BK. And I don't know, I'm not quite sure. I think maybe for now he's average. I mean, his damage is still okay. He's good with chain reaction. I feel like currently he's better with chain reaction, just because they nerfed his general damage output. And I feel like it's not really worth it running the extra AoE on your bombs. So I feel like extra damage is better than extra range, especially when you're good enough to hit your bombs and then stack them up. I mean, he still has a lot of utility with his Grumpy Bomb, his Poppy Bomb, his ultimate, so a lot of CC in different ways, so to say. I mean, you have two stuns with your Grumpy Bomb and your ult, but you also can displace enemies using your Poppy Bomb, which is pretty good in my opinion. You are a good wrecker, so you're good at spamming shields, because you don't even have to detonate your bombs when you when you throw them against shields. They just destroy the shield, so to say, just by throwing your bombs against the shield. So I think he's an average pick. He's I mean, I don't know, it's hard to tell, but he's not bad. He's not as over performing, so to say. So I think a good BK is still able to have really good games, but now it's a little bit harder to make him work, and I think he fits in the average tier for me. So next champion is Cassie, and Cassie is for me, she's in a really good spot. So maybe A plus. I'm not sure. I feel like we have no DPS really being S tier, so I feel like A plus is then the highest I can go. I want to go with DPS, and for me, Cassie is one of the highest DPS in the game. So probably A plus for me, because I don't know, she's in a really good spot, especially when she got her exaction legendary buffed. That feels really good on her. I mean, her other legendaries always been pretty good, so especially impulse hasn't gotten changed. But even if you would run big game, it can work. Big game is a little bit harder, obviously, because you have to hit your disengage before dealing extra damage. So therefore, I think the mastery is a little bit harder if you want to play a big game. And I feel like most of the times it's not really worth it running big game, because they changed or they nerfed it so much. So they decreased the extra damage, they decreased the time you apply the extra damage, and I don't know, but I feel like big game is not really worth it. It can work. It's still strong, but it's not worth it because the other legendaries are just better on her. She's good at dealing a lot of damage at once, just because she has so many abilities, and she already has a great auto attack. So she already deals like 680 or something with just a normal shot, and then she can spam her abilities at once, which is pretty annoying to deal with. Pretty Yeah, it's strong for Cassie, but annoying to play against for all the other teams, so to say, or the other enemies. Then I feel like she has pretty good cards to sustain even without a healer. Well, maybe not without a healer, because you still need some heal, but you have a lot of sustain cards. You have your resets of your dodge roll when falling to a certain percentage number of your maximum HP, which is pretty good. I feel like it's always good on every player, or you always want to use it on every champion possible, because it's just kind of a free reset of your movement ability. But it's now more about deck talk. I kind of want to talk more about Cassie. So she needs, or she brings a lot of DPS. She has a great utility ult. So just it's a wall hack for, I don't know how long it is, like 5 seconds or something. It's pretty good to see where the enemy is. It's good to combine with certain ultimates. So for example, combine it with a Mave ult, pretty strong. You see where everyone is and they can't see you. Pretty strong to finish up or to follow up the kills. It's also zoning ult, because usually you don't want to do anything but waiting when Cassie is ulting, just because everyone can see you. Everyone knows where you're about to go. So it could work for zoning as getting a free cap time, because people usually don't want to do anything when Cassie's ulting, and just know where the enemy sets up, where the enemy comes from or respawns from if you won the first fight over the point, so to say. So that just, I don't know, she's in a pretty good state for me, especially with her Exaction legendary buffed. So next is Dredge, and I don't know, I think Dredge is situational for me, or B minus. So again, I added another row just because I feel like we have a lot of DPS champions, and I feel like I want to kind of split them up more, because they're not really in the same tiers for me. That's why I added another row. So Dredge is situational for me, or B minus, I'm not sure. I think situational, just because he works on some maps pretty good, especially if you don't have a counter. So for example, Terminus is a really great counter into Dredge, also against PK or any blaster, basically. But especially on ice mines, playing against the Dredge is pretty annoying. So this is one of his best maps, I would say. He's kind of struggles on more open maps. I mean, he has the advantage, or he has the possibility to pick hurl and just spam his harpoon. And I feel like the skill gap on Dredge isn't really high. So I think it's kind of easy to get used to Dredge, or how he works, what you want to do. So I mean, just because for the fact you can just spam your auto attacks or your right click and still will do damage. So I think there is a difference between a really good Dredge and a average Dredge, but I think it's pretty easy to make him work in some way. So I don't know, maybe he's B minus for me just because he's so easy, or you still will do damage without actually knowing what you're doing. You just need to click your left click, or use your left click or your right click. I don't know. So yeah, probably he's B minus just because he's so easy. And I said I also want to see how easy it is to master the champions, or how easy it is to make them work. So I usually, if I only would look at his champion kit, he probably would have been C tier, but his skill considered, his mastery skill, so to say, I don't know. He's probably B minus. You have an ultimate to kind of counter ultimate some other ultimates and just zone. It doesn't deal that much damage anymore, but I still think it's good to zone. And it's hard to actually hit someone with their ult if they have their movement ability up, if they're not slowed, because I don't know, if you react fast enough, then you can just walk out of it or use your movement ability out of it. But I think it's fine. So he works on some maps, especially in closer maps, but more like a situational pick for me. So next is Drogoz. And I don't know, Drogoz is average, I guess, because he gets countered pretty easily by hitscan champions. It's so easy to hit him in the air. He has a huge hitbox. His damage output is pretty strong though. I don't know, a really good Drogoz can still play around his counters. I've seen a lot of Drogozes picking Drogoz into their counter because they're really confident and they actually were pretty good. So you're still able to do something if you're really good on Drogoz. So I think the skill required for playing Drogoz really good or good is really high. So I think he's one of the harder champions to master if you play against counters. So if you're not playing against any counters, if you only play against blasters and no hit skin, then okay, everyone will have a good game on Drogoz, I guess, because his damage is so good and that you can't do badly on him, I guess, if you don't have counters. But the important thing for me is how do you play against your counters? Will you feed against them every time? Will you use every one you on, or will you still kill them or whatever? So I think his damage is great. He works on some match better than on others. He also works on Ice Mines or on Frogger or mess like that to spam with his fire spits or combustible. You also can, I mean, all his legendaries are viable, which is pretty good in my opinion, to have all 3 legendaries being viable, because it's not the case on every champion. But I guess he is in a good spot. He's a really good champion in my opinion. He's great at dealing damage and pressuring the enemy team. And I don't know, you have a good ult to zone. You not only want to, you usually don't want to use it to really finish up kills. It's more like zoning and mobility ult, because it's so, yeah, it's so hard for you to survive if you go in and ult someone, because you usually don't want to go into the enemy team, but with the ult you have to go into the enemy team to get a kill, if you understand what I mean. So more like a zoning or mobility ult, but I think it's fine. So good champion, brings out great DPS, some zoning tools with his ult or combustible, his spit, but he gets countered pretty easily. So I guess he's average for me, and he requires some skill to play against his counters. So next champion, Imani. I don't know. I'm not even sure if she's B minus. I think she's more like situation. Not because she works in some situations, just because I feel like she's not in the best state. I mean, she feels better now, like with her buffs and her changes to how fast she attacks and stuff like that. But I don't know. I still think she's not the best champion. I mean, she's good on some maps. She's also good at dealing DPS, but I feel like it's not consistent enough, or she's not consistent enough. Then her abilities don't apply cauterize. I mean, it's obviously it's obvious that they don't apply cauterize, and Rekka would be too strong. Her abilities are annoying to play against, though, but I don't know. I just feel like she's not consistent enough, and it's kind of rough to make her work, because I mean, her ultimate is strong, but it gets countered by bulldozer, and yeah, it's also pretty likely for you to die if you don't pay attention to your ult model, so to say. I don't know how to the Imani character model, so to say, when you the dragon. And it's still strong if the enemy team don't pay attention to your dragon, and you can just free fire or don't pay attention to where Imani stands and stuff like that. But I don't know. I can't really explain it. For me, it's just, I don't know. I just feel like she's not that good compared to other DPS. Other DPS are just easier to make work. So she works. She's good at dealing damage and stuff like that. But I feel like other DPS are just easier to just rank up and win games and stuff like that. That's why she's more like C tier for me. So yeah, okay, Nessa. I'm not sure about Nessa. Nessa's also a strong pick, especially because Strix got nerfed, and it's more likely to only have a Nessa in one game. You don't see Strix that often anymore. I mean, a good Strix can still carry a game and stuff like that, but I don't know. Nessa is just better pick for me. She always has been a better pick for me, in my opinion. I mean, Strix was easier to make work, but she's been the better pick for me. So she has strong legendaries. I mean, in some way, all her legendaries are viable, but I guess you see the extra headshot damage more often, or now the I don't know how it's called, like the extra damage when charging your fully shot. I forgot the name. Um, you have a lot of sustain in your loadout, or ability to put in a lot of sustain, just because you have the heal when hitting a fully charged shot, and it doesn't count as lifesteal, so you could still pick lifesteal and have the heal when hitting a fully charged shot. So really tanky. I like her teleport. Good at getting out an early shot if you use a teleport to be the first champion in, so to say. That's why she feels good. She brings out a lot of DPS. She's able to one-shot people, especially flanks. So usually not, obviously not tanks and stuff like that. But squishies, she can easily one-shot, especially when you're good Nessa hitting headshots, which is not that hard in Paladins, just because of the hitboxes. Her ultimate is pretty strong in my opinion, so you either could just use it as a zoning tool, because people don't want to peek you when you're ulting, because then you also can like one-shotting tanks when they are like, I don't know, half HP or a little bit below half HP. And yeah, I don't know, I mean, she struggles when getting flanked really hardly, but she can teleport out, and if she's good, then she also is able to kill the flank, trying to flank her. So I think there's some skill gap between an average Nessa and a really good Nessa. So a really good Nessa is really hard to play against. So I don't know, if you've played against really good Nessas, then it's kind of frustrating, because you try to flank her and stuff and she just kills you, because she's just good at still hitting shots when you're up close. So I think that's for me what makes the difference, because between average Nessa and really good Nessa. And I don't know, she's in a good spot. She always has been in a good spot, but especially now when Strix got nerfed, she's in an even better spot. So I'm not sure if she's A plus or A tier, but I think maybe A tier, because she's not working on every map. Cassie kind of works on every map, so maybe A tier. I think A tier is better, because there's some skill gap between good Nessa, average Nessa, and stuff like that. You have to have decent aim for her, and she doesn't work on every map, so probably more A tier than A plus. So next damage champion, Lian. I think Lian is A tier for me. Her legendaries are annoying. All her legendaries are viable, especially the auto aim legendary, like Electricity. It's pretty annoying. I don't know. I don't like Lian as a champion in general, just because it's dumb to give a champion a auto aim, in my opinion, and give her two auto aim abilities, and you're able to reset your one auto aim ability with hitting your other auto aim ability. So I think it's really easy to make her work when you have a good loadout. You don't even have to have a good aim. You just have auto aim and reset your auto aim with hitting your auto aim. So, or to make it easier to explain, you are able to reset your movement ability while hitting your right click, and you're also able to reduce the cooldown of your right click with using or hitting your movement ability. So, really annoying. I feel like Eminence is still a good pick, but it doesn't work properly, just because the extra range, I don't know, it's just not working. It's not working for a year or longer. I don't know. You're supposed to deal more damage on longer ranges, but sometimes it doesn't work. So sometimes you deal a lot of damage when the enemy looks really close to you, but then you hit your Q over the whole map and you still only do 800 damage. And I'm not talking about an enemy having blast shield or something like that. It's just not working. So that's why Eminence is kind of rough, in my opinion, just because it's not working. You usually don't want to play Legendary, it's not working. But I think she's still a good pick. She's really strong. She has a lot of burst potential. Her ultimate is annoying to play against because she deals a lot of damage. Her ultimate is also blast damage, so it goes through multiple enemies. You have damage reduction, and you're just able to spam a lot of abilities at once. So I don't know, she's really easy to make work. She's easy to master. You're obviously stronger when you're able to actually hit your shots, so your auto attacks and dealing hit or hitting headshots and stuff like that, but that doesn't count here for me because it's just so easy to make her work only with her auto aim abilities. So probably 8 here for me because she's so easy to make work and her damage is really good. So Lian 8 here for me. Next damage champion is Sha Lin. Yeah, I think Sha Lin is 8 here. I mean a good Sha Lin would be higher for me, but I think it's kind of hard to fully master him or use all his abilities in a good way, so to say. I mean, some people struggle with hitting your arrows, but you get used to when you just play him, so to say. His arrows are different to all other auto aim to all other auto attack abilities, just because they are projectiles and they I don't know, you just need to learn how your arrow moves, so to say. You bring great utility with your cripple, so even if you're not playing any of his Desert Silence or Sandtrap Legendaries, you still have your cripple in your base kit, which is pretty strong in my opinion, because you just counter all flanks and other damage, or just every other champion requiring on or needing their movement ability to do something, because it's annoying to get crippled. Then it's so easy to hit you and stuff like that. He deals great damage, so K burst damage is pretty good. Also could increase his damage with playing Sandtrap, with which is also pretty good in my opinion. You can play him up close or on range. It's, I mean, you don't really have, I think you don't have fall off at all on him, so that's good. But it's just harder to hit your arrows because they are not really hit scan. I mean, they buffed it a little bit or changed it a little bit, so they travel a bit faster. But still, it's no hit scan. It stays projectile. So yeah, I think there's huge skill gap between a really good Sha hitting every shot, using his cripples correctly, and stuff like that, and a average Sha. So if you aim is decent, it's kind of easy to get some value out of him, I guess. But to be really good, there's a huge skill gap in my opinion. But just for the fact he deals a lot of damage and stuff like that, he's 8 here for me, and many players are actually able to play him well, in my opinion. So that's why he's 8 here. Okay, now to Strix, and I don't know. Maybe he's situational. I mean, the good Strix can still do something. So if you're good at hitting your shots and kind of quick scoping, even though it's harder now because you have a lot of time between your shots, but still, if you're able to shoot every time you can, so to say, without hesitating or without waiting and needing to aim and find the right spot to shoot at and stuff like that, then he's still good. He still deals a lot of damage, so they didn't really nerf his damage. So he still deals great damage, but the time between his shots just feels so long that it's just not worth it, because it's easier for every other range champion to kill him before you kill them, so to say. So especially Nessa, the sniper duel between Nessa and Strix, I think every Nessa wins against the Strix if they're on the same level. So that's why I think he's not that good anymore. Now you actually need a lot of skill to make him work, just because you have to play more carefully. You can't just shoot so fast that the enemy team can't react. So they needed to nerf him. That's good, but I feel like he's just not worth it picking anymore. So yeah, his pistol doesn't feel that great anymore. They also nerfed his pistol like a few months ago, which is pretty bad now. You have some kind of utility with your flare when not playing unauthorized use, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to make work. There are more champions being much easier to make work and getting out great damage and stuff like that. But he's not a bad champion in my opinion. It's not bad playing him if you're good, especially when you don't have another sniper on your team. For example, if Nessa is banned, I don't know, the enemy team doesn't pick Lian or some range champions, and you basically can free fire stuff like that, then he still can work, but it's just hard in my opinion. So next champion, Tyra, and I don't know. I think she's A tier just because for Mercy gear. I don't think her other legendaries are. Well, maybe then she's more like B tier, more like average, just because it's only one legendary being really, really good. Because if you play Merciful, you want to have damage reduction on your nades, and you have so many nades, your damage reduction stacks up, you can get your nades back when getting in a limb, which is pretty good. You have some lifesteal in your base kit, so that's good. I mean, Burn Monster also can work, and hunting party against, I don't know, revealing enemies and stuff like that. But the extra damage is just not worth it for hunting party, and you don't get an advantage with picking hunting party. It's more in competitive play, in my opinion, because your team needs to follow up your marks and needs to get the extra damage, so to say. That's just why it's harder to make work. You need more coordination to make hunting party work, and hunting party is more like situational. Burn Monster works in lower elo ranks better, just because if you stay in the fire, you will get killed by it. It deals a lot of damage when you stay in the fire. But in higher tiers or higher ranks, it doesn't work that great, just because people know to play around it and walk out of it and stuff like that. But Mercy Kill is really, really good. She basically counters every other DPS or flank in a 1v1 because of her damage reduction and stuff like that. So that's easy to make work. Her other legendaries aren't really that viable in my opinion. That's why she's B tier or she's average, I guess. Just because it's only one legendary being viable. And I don't know. Maybe you also could put her in A tier, but I guess she's more like then high B tier, low A tier, I guess. More like this. Because yeah, for the reasons I already explained. Next champion is Tiberius. I guess Tiberius is strong. I don't know, maybe here. So he's good at spamming. His Q is really strong. You basically kill everyone when just using your Q and hitting all your shots on your enemy, obviously, just because it's so much damage in such a short time. Your ultimate is good for mobility. You usually don't want to use it for damage. You just can, I don't know, touch pretty easily. So I don't know, just use it for mobility. Therefore, it's really, really good. In a different way, it's not that great to the damage. It sucks, in my opinion. You have some self-sustain with your cards, so you could add heal on using combat trends, hitting your chakrams and stuff like that. His movement ability doesn't feel that great. That makes it kind of rough for me to put him higher. You don't really need much skill to make him work, in my opinion. It's pretty easy. His damage output is great with his Q, but he needs to play around his Q or his second blade, so to say, like his right click. Otherwise, I feel like you need a little bit too long to actually win 1v1s and stuff. You probably lose every 1v1 when not having your Q or your right click up. So then he's kind of weak, but having his cooldowns up, then he's pretty strong. But just the difference between having your cooldowns up and not having your cooldowns up, so only your auto attack, so to say, makes it rough or makes it hard for me to put him higher. I think he's a great pick. He's really good, but just because you need your cooldowns up to make it easier, to make it possible to win 1v1s and stuff like that. He works better on closer maps, obviously, so kind of rough on longer maps. His basic movement ability is not that great, but therefore he has his ultimate, which kind of makes it better, so to say. But yes, I guess B tier maybe. Yeah, I guess B tier, high B tier is fine for me to put him there. So let me see. Okay, Viktor. I don't know. B minus, I guess. I mean, he's still strong. He can work, but I don't know. His ultimate gets countered by a lot of tanks, or at least some tanks when having up their shield. His ultimate gets also countered by some flanks, or flanks can just play around it. You can walk out of Vic's ultimate when you're fast enough. You could use it as a zoning tool, I guess. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say cardio is a legendary to pick, but it could work, especially in early game. I feel like burst mode is the legendary to go, or shrapnel. Shrapnel also works on closer maps, especially like ice mines and stuff like that. Therefore, it's really, really good. You're kind of vulnerable against flanks or dives. Dives is the better word, I guess. If you get dove, then it's hard for you to sustain. You have some life or you actually used to have a lot of life when using iron sights, especially in burst mode. It feels really, really good. But now nerfing it, and they also nerfed his damage, or they kind of changed his damage. I don't know. They changed how much damage he did over range, but now he doesn't feel that great anymore. They're just easier picks or better picks to get out. Great DPS. So he works. He's an okay champion, or he's a good champion, I guess. He's kind of easy to master, but they're just better picks or easier picks to make work, who also are able to sustain in a 1v1 and stuff like that. So that's why he's more like B minus for me. Maybe you could put him to just B, but I don't know. I don't feel like he's on the same tier as the other champions being listed in B for me. Yeah, Vivian, I don't know. Vivian is kind of the same. I mean, she has some utility with her sensor drones, and booby trap is annoying sometimes to play against. And yeah, her reveal is pretty good. She's kind of good at shredding shields, but I don't know. They nerfed it. It's good that they nerfed it. She was really annoying to play against. I don't know. Opportunity in Chaos just doesn't feel that good anymore. I mean, I've never liked Opportunity in Chaos or the pleasure of it, just because you needed to keep shooting to get the extra damage. So you needed to stand still or stuff like that to get extra damage, because you can't really move that much when firing. She doesn't really have a movement ability, but she has a lot of movement speed in her cards, which is good. And she also has life steal in her cards. They also nerfed it, so doesn't feel that great either anymore. Yeah, I mean, she could work, but it's just really hard to make her work nowadays, because you have many players being just better than, or many champions being just better than Vivian, or easier to make work. That's why she's kind of B minus for me, because she kind of dropped out of the meta, in my opinion. And even before she was kind of situational for me. I mean, there were some players just picking Vivian and shredding and stuff like that, but if you know how to play around Vivian or how to dive and stuff like that, then she's also pretty vulnerable. So that's why she's just B tier for me, B minus for me. So next, and I think actually last damage champion is Willo. I don't know, maybe she's average. I guess she's average. Yeah, I mean, her damage reduction on her flutter is pretty good. Her ultimate is good when you don't have a hit scan on the other team. Her dead zone is annoying. Her seedlings are more like zoning than actually dealing damage. when not playing Scorn. So when you play Scorn, then you actually can deal damage easier because the explosion time, or whatever you want to call it, is shorter, but otherwise her seedlings just need too long to explode, so you can easily run out of it. But her Deadstone is definitely one of her strongest abilities, just denying every heal. So it's not only caught, it just denies all heal. So pretty good. Her damage output on playing Blast Foe is also pretty good, I guess. You're good at 1v1ing people when you are on the high ground, or you have kind of high ground advantage. Then it's easy to just spam, get the extra damage, and kill them. You kind of tank you with your damage reduction if you use it correctly and stuff like that. You kind of struggle against mobile characters, I guess, or therefore it's just harder to hit your shots. But if you're good at hitting your shots, or even on mobile characters, Willo is a great pick. It's just harder to hit mid-air characters. But basically, I think, well, yeah, you always can get some value out of it, but there are also champions being easier to master, I guess, just because of her weapon attack, and she's kind of squishy when not having damage reduction and when getting dove and stuff like that. But she's a good pick, has good abilities in my opinion. So I think B tier is fine for me, putting her in low B tier, so kind of average. And yeah, I feel like the DPS are kind of balanced. Like my tier list, they're all around average. Some are better, some a little bit worse. But I guess all in all, it's fine for me. You could swap up some picks, obviously, but I guess that's just personal preference. How you see some facts or aspects. But let me go through it. I think we have every DPS champions, every DPS champion listed here. Yes, I guess so. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Let me know where you would put some champions or all the champions, which one you would rate higher or a little bit lower. Just let me know what you think. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've had a nice day, and always remember, don't forget you guys are awesome.